Joining me, Jack Burkman, Republican strategist, K Street lobbyist, and host of Behind the Curtain on Newsmax TV. Also, John Neffinger, Democratic strategist and author of Compelling People. Thank you both for being here.
Good to be here.
Thank you,
We
Mike.
start this week in New Hampshire. As expected, the Granite State delivered big wins for Donald Trump and Senator Bernie Sanders.
New Hampshire, I want to thank you. We love you. We're going to be back a lot. We're not going to forget you. You started it. Remember, you started it.
What happened here in New Hampshire in terms of an enthusiastic and aroused electorate, people who came out in large numbers, that is what will happen all over this country.
Trump led the GOP field with 35% of the vote, followed by Kasich, then Cruz, Bush, and Rubio. Two candidates, Christie and Fiorina, bowed out of the race. And then on the left, Sanders, his support topped 60%. Meanwhile, Clinton finished with just 38%. Let's talk takeaways from New Hampshire. Jack, you first.
Well, I'm giving money to Bernie Sanders. I continue to write Bernie checks. We got to get Bernie going. Oh, seriously, the big news is Donald Trump. He won. Not only did he win a big victory, but Rubio's momentum was blunted in a bigger way than I ever expected. The big advantage with Trump, and I think this is the main takeaway from Tuesday, is that a spread field goes into South Carolina. So that vote gets split up. You've got Cruz as a threat. Rubio's still a threat. Now you have John Kasich surging. The vote gets split up between those three. Trump will win South Carolina. I think because you've got multiple candidates still in the race, Trump will win a bunch of states, will win a lot of delegates. I don't see how you stop Trump's momentum at this point. I don't even know how I would advise somebody like Cruz or Rubio at this point.
John, Clinton won New Hampshire in 2008, as you remember. What happened this time around?
Well, the easy answer is that you have somebody from a state next door, and traditionally somebody from a state next door takes New Hampshire. But this was a pretty big win, and the really alarming thing, I think, for the Clinton campaign going forward is the gap with the youth voter. Both women and men you saw breaking for Bernie Sanders under 35, and so that's something that she's going to need to deal with. There's a messaging issue in there somewhere that she's going to have to figure out how to explain to folks who were never alive before she was in Washington how she actually is a change maker and satisfies their urge for political courage.
In a lot of ways, I would analogize this to almost 1976 for the Republicans, where you ended up with Ford and the whole thing in Kansas City. They really wanted Ronald Reagan. I think that's exactly what's going to happen with the Dems here, Mike, because everybody loves Bernie. I mean, the only people who say good things about Hillary Clinton are insiders inside the Beltway who have money to be made from her being president. All the rest of the country, wherever I go, they love Bernie Sanders, even very moderate and conservative Democrats. She will win. You see the DNC playing all kind of games. They're reversing Obama's thing. Now lobbyists can give, so she has extra money. The Democrats have this super delegate nonsense, much more than the Republicans.
It's not entirely
the DNC is going to make sure that she wins. She'll win, but it's going to be sad because the base won't be fired up, and that will benefit we Republicans.
John, I'll let you respond to that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm not so sure that the story is quite that simple. What you have in Bernie Sanders is somebody who started out basically being a protest candidate, at least as far as anybody could tell. He was on a speaking tour. He was raising the issues that have animated him at the end of his career. But what happened was his campaign kind of morphed. And now what you see him talking about is this idea that Clinton is on the take somehow from Wall Street. Well, you know what? Clinton's a pretty liberal senator. So if she's on the take, that basically indicts the entire Democratic Party. And so
well, it indicts them. I think
he doesn't have a lot of friends left in the caucus he's been caucusing with for a long time. So this battle is going to be heating up, and I don't think it's as simple as saying like heart here, head there.
Let's shift back to the Republicans, Jack. The race of this primary campaign really picks up from here. Nevada is next, followed by South Carolina, then Super Tuesday. Right now, you seem to say that no one can really trump Trump, but who does give him the biggest threat in those southern states? Is it Cruz?
Oh, Rubio overall is the biggest threat. I actually think Cruz and Rubio will both have their moments. The problem is, I go back to what I said before, the vote is split. So Trump may not be as dominant as he was in New Hampshire in a lot of these states, even the southern states, but with the vote split, Mike, with everything split up, Trump is just going to win a majority of these states. For instance, I think Rubio will surge again. The media loves him. So much of the establishment media just loves Marco Rubio. He will surge again. I guarantee you he will. But I just don't think it'll be enough. I think that the biggest thing helping Donald Trump right now is that Kasich not only is in the race, but is surging, and that helps Trump immensely.
Meanwhile, Clinton and Sanders are locked in for a battle for minority support. Black and Latino voters, of course, make up a much greater part of the voting population in Nevada and South Carolina. Clinton spent part of her week in Flint, Michigan, then picked up a key endorsement from the Congressional Black Caucus.
The CBC PAC, in its vote, with no votes for Mr. Sanders and 2 abstentions because of individuals' capacities and responsibilities, voted to make sure that we endorsed Hillary Clinton to be the Democratic nominee and the next president of the United States of America.
John, any surprises here? The timing of this just before South Carolina. Is the Clinton campaign feeling insecure about this?
No, I think you're going to see this anyhow just before South Carolina. And I think this is what the Clinton campaign needs, not just because you have more minority voters in the states that are coming up, but for white voters as well, to see people who have known Hillary Clinton for a long time. There is a lot of love for Hillary Clinton in the Democratic Party, people who can testify to her long history of service over the course of decades. That has been lost, as we saw, on the younger folks. And so when you look at that minority vote in these states coming up, you see it's not a lock, because there is this generational split within that community as well.
If you believe the Wall Street Journal, John and Mike, if you believe the Journal, they're reporting yesterday and today on all the speeches she gave on Wall Street. She thanked Goldman Sachs, quote, for what they have done for America. Now, I believe that. I think that's fine, but I don't think a lot of liberals believe that. So, John, when you say, am I indicting the Democratic Party? I'm not indicting the Democratic Party. I'm indicting them for hypocrisy. At least Bernie Sanders is true to his word. He's true to his convictions, and I admire that.
I would disagree heavily. Bernie Sanders is a very good politician. If you just saw Dana Milbank's column the other day, he is a very good politician, and he is not what he purports to be in terms of being a whole breath of fresh air who doesn't play the same old political games. He's taken the Wall Street money through the DSCC as well.
Let's move on to this Wisconsin debate. Take a listen. It got a little heated at times.
Why in God's name does Wall Street make huge campaign contributions? I guess just for the fun of it.
The American people deserve to know specifically how this would work. The numbers don't add up, and many people will actually be worse off than they are right now.
Final thoughts, Senator.
That is absolutely inaccurate.
So Clinton is referring to numbers on Sanders' health care plan. And John, I'm wondering, at this point, don't most voters know where these candidates fall on the issues? Do you think that these debates are making either candidate stronger or helping to educate the electorate?
The numbers actually suggest that they're not making the candidates stronger. If you look at the turnout numbers in New Hampshire and Iowa, what we've seen so far is significantly lower turnout on the Democratic side in both of those than in years past. That's got to be alarming, not just because Bernie isn't producing the extra voters that he would need as a nominee to be able to run the table and win in the fall, but also for Hillary Clinton, it suggests that Bernie's critique of her is depressing turnout as well. So it's kind of a bad situation for Democrats.
Jack,
right
what
now.
about on the Republican side? Obviously, Trump just loves those debate formats. He gets a lot of attention. He can say some pretty flamboyant things. It seems like there's no hope for those other challengers to really take him on in those debate
Well,
forums.
Rubio, I mean, Trump is, he loves the format. He's not the best debater in the world. Rubio had done extremely well in a lot of the debates, but Christie really derailed his entire campaign. I was actually very surprised Chris Christie left despite the showing in New Hampshire. If I were he, I would have stayed in this race. I'm not sure why he quit now. It's almost like Scott Walker quitting 5 months ago. I don't know why he quit. He should have stayed in. Some of these candidates have, they show this great tenacity, and then all of a sudden, it all goes in a second and they leave. That tends to be common in politics. I never really understand it. But you're right. Trump is getting all the numbers from the debates.
Rubio, I think, was maybe #1.
I was going to say that sounds like Rubio to me, the guy who it's kind of crashed and burned.
Let's take a short break from the campaign trail to talk about the White House. President Obama releasing his 8th and final budget on Tuesday. Tuesday. This would spend a record $4.1 trillion financing Democratic priorities like education, healthcare, climate change, with new taxes on crude oil, the wealthy, and big banks.
It's tempting to adopt the conventional wisdom that a president's final budget isn't relevant. But I think the conventional wisdom is wrong. With many final year budgets, you either see an administration dramatically trim its sails and dial back on ambition, or you see a budget that is solely a vision document with little that's relevant to the debate. This budget falls in neither of those camps. The budget offers a range of proposals where there's bipartisan support for taking action.
In Congress, Republicans immediately panned this budget, some calling it dead on arrival. Jack, do you see any room for compromise?
No, I think if Ryan's already done too much compromising for my taste, and I think for the taste of a lot of conservatives. If Ryan does any more compromising, I think he'll be in the Boehner situation, which is exactly what he wanted to avoid. I think he's smarter than that. I think Paul will just avoid the whole thing. I think you could see another government shutdown at some point. We'll see.
Before you guys go, a few lessons in film. The rhetorical gifts of Senator Ted Cruz are well documented. He is also churned out some of the funniest ads of the primary campaign season, you might argue. Here's one of them that targets Senator Rubio.
Has anyone else here struggled with being lied to?
Well, I voted for a guy who was a Tea Party hero on the campaign trail, and then he went to D.C. and played patty cake with Chuck Schumer and cut a deal on amnesty.
Does that make you angry?
Angry? Makes me feel dumb for trusting him.
Maybe you should vote for more than just a pretty face next time.
You guys have room for one more?
Come on in. Come on in.
Come on in. You can have Frank's chair.
I'm Ted Cruz, and I approve this message.
So Cruz pulls this ad after discovering that actress who delivered that critical line about a pretty face has also apparently appeared in several softcore adult films. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is featured in an unrelated video. The website Funny or Die put together a 50-minute mockumentary about Trump's best-selling book, The Art of the Deal, with Johnny Depp playing Trump and Ron Howard narrating. Here's the trailer for that. Depp really looks like Trump in that video. It's pretty uncanny. These two guys are really duking it out right now. This is a lot in jest, but do you think either of these videos hurt their chances?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think those type of things, they're funny. I don't think they have any impact on this at all.
Yeah, I would
Cruz
agree
is
with
probably
that.
overreacting, pulling that actress out of there as though I think the internet might not even care.
Well, the irony here, Jack, is that this woman has also appeared apparently in a couple of lesbian scenes. Cruz being a candidate who opposes same-sex marriage, saying that he believes in the sanctity of marriage and the Judeo-Christian values. How is that not vetted?
Well, as though he's accountable for an actress that's hired for a film shoot. I mean, all of that I think is silly. A lot of this points up why Trump, I think, is running, and that is to destroy the political correctness movement. I think this might reinforce that.
I will add that this is thus far a rare misstep by the Cruz campaign. They've got great analytics. They've had, as you said, the funniest ads on TV. They're really running a strong campaign, and that's a challenge to people, including Trump, who seems to still be flying by the seat of the pants. He's 1 for 2, so we'll see what happens in this next couple of states.
And I wonder, John, from the Democratic perspective, the criticism of Hillary, that she's not authentic, maybe not trustworthy, we're not seeing a whole lot of humor, human moments from her. Maybe something like this could be helpful to her campaign.
Well, we didn't see in New Hampshire this time what we saw in New Hampshire in 2008, but I do think it's a long road ahead, and we're going to get plenty of opportunities to see her in various different situations, not just duking it out with Bernie Sanders on
Mike is right on the money. You're right on the money. There needs to be more of Bill in Hillary.
All right, Jack Burkman with the last word, Republican strategist. John Neffinger, Democratic strategist. The best political panel on TV. Thanks to you both.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, John.